Coming at you live, y'all. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you get your podcasts and your YouTube videos, if you're on YouTube. This is Becoming episode 3 with Ryan McGough. I am the bodybuilding businessman and entrepreneur. And I'm sorry I left you hanging for so long because episode 1 of Becoming was about pasts and how pasts really don't matter, don't affect, don't change anything. They only affect the way we make our decisions and interpret our decisions. And if I've had a rough past, my ability to make big decisions is going to be very tarnished because of my past failures on all of those decisions that I made. It's all I've ever known. Other than that, it doesn't truly matter. And really, we only need one episode to talk about it. And episode 2 is about opportunity, right? Are opportunities hindered from me? If I create this business or create this thing, is there going to be enough opportunity of it? And really, it's probably just a small decision to say, is this a crowded market? Am I trying to be a fisherman of salmon in California? Right? Well, actually, San Francisco has a fisherman of salmon in Florida, right? Then you're probably in the wrong place potentially to do the business, but you could fish for other things, and Florida has actually a pretty robust, population of different species of fish. So my point is opportunity and past don't mean and make up anything at all to do with us becoming the person that we want to be, right? So 1 and 2 is, well, these things are what most people tell themselves. Fear of failure or fear of the person that I was yesterday being the person that I want to be tomorrow, or there's enough bodybuilders out there, there's enough telecom companies out there, there's enough real estate investors out there, and so all of these things are too crowded, and I'm not going to succeed in those things, right? Which we only need one episode for that, because that's completely false too. One great way to look at it, and I was always looking at this, we were talking about bodybuilders, and people were showing the before pictures of great bodybuilders. Chris Bumstead, I can't remember the guy. The reason we were talking about it was we were in Brazil, and we were looking at the guy, and everybody was saying, man, the Brazilian guy that competes with Chris Bumstead, and I can't remember his name, but they were saying, look at him when he first started, right? And the funniest part is, I don't think there is a bodybuilder you don't see where you can look at a past picture of them and be like, oh no, yeah, they were gonna, if anything, they were like in okay shape, but they were small, scrawny, or overweight. Jay Cutler was really overweight. So like the point is it's easy to see when we look at bodybuilders that, like, of course they were nowhere near what they look like now in the past, and they became that version of themselves. They became that through the process of chiseling muscle and breaking it down and building it back up again. So we really only need 2 episodes to talk about past not mattering, genetics not mattering, where you live, what you look like, how you talk, whatever, right? And the hardest part about it all is just to become, in our own minds first, the version of ourselves that we can be, even though we look at ourselves with the version that we used to be or that we are, right? So the first step in becoming anything different than we are, anything different, is looking at the truth of where we are and visualizing and creating the new version in our minds. Anything and everything that happens in this world, to us, that we do, that happens to us, it's interpreted and it's perceived through our minds, right? Everything that's happening, I'm thinking about it, I'm taking it in. Every person has a different ability to see something, and we all look through something out of a different lens. So I could have a situation that happened to me, And it's totally different than how somebody else perceives it. And trust me, my wife and I, we have that situation all the time. The kids and I, we have that all the time. I see it one way, it looks like this, it does this, and somebody else says, no, it happened like this is what happened, this is what I saw, this is what I felt. And they're two different scenarios of the same situation, right? That's because the lens that we look through the world is the way we are internally. It's the way we have done things in the past. It's the way we walk up to situations and start to feel scared because we've failed at these things in the past. So we're constantly dragging the past with us into our future and into our situations now, right? Whether we want to believe that or think about that, it's the case. So the past and opportunity really only have a small bit to do, but they have to do with us and how we perceive and how we're built to handle situations. So only by, and this is the entire process of it, by challenging those thoughts, by challenging the visions and what we think we're capable of constantly, and then breaking down and creating that false idea in our own minds, walking up to something that's too big, I can't lift that weight. Oh, I actually just did. Okay, so now I believe that I can. Oh, I couldn't start that business. Oh, but I just signed up and put my name on the LLC document at the state Secretary of State Department. Oh, wow, actually I just got it in the mail. Now it's my company, right? So we constantly, one, visualize it in its entirety, in its detail, in its beauty, in its tastes, in its smells, in its feelings, in its emotions, everything that's going to look and feel like. We design it out first in our mind. Just like an architect designs a building, just like a writer or a actor designs their character in a book or a movie, all of it. And we have to put it in as detailed and oriented and as passionate and with feelings and emotions and everything in it. And we have to put that in our mind and hold it there for forever. And it has to be extremely powerful, and it has to be extremely strong. And this is called creating the vision, right? And we can have it down to the vision of today, a daily vision, a daily activity. We can have it down to a vision of a 1-year plan. We can have it down to a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan, right? So the idea that the past is the reason that we can't, the idea that we're different than the people that we see succeeding, or that we talk different, or that we come from a different place, or that we don't have the genes for bodybuilding, is all complete lie made up in our mind. We have to first just visualize and create the life that we want, and then we work backwards. So the process of becoming has probably 2 small podcasts like we did about the past and the reason that we couldn't, and the rest of it all is the meat. It's the gold. It's the process. It's everything related to now having the life that we want to have, having the things that we want to have, living the experiences that we want to have. And it starts with visualizing it first. And the first step of becoming, the first step of changing, the first step of anything is taking a real inventory of where I'm at and how my behaviors and my actions are incorporated to becoming who I want to be. And if these things are off, right, then I'm never going to get that. It's just a delusion. But if I take an honest inventory of those activities and actions and the things that I do on a regular basis, and I set those up and I hold the vision, right, of succeeding, of becoming the version who I want to be of myself, if I hold that vision and I think about it every day. In the morning, it's the first thing I think about. At the night, it's the last thing I think about. All my spare time, I think about it throughout the day. Think about the positive. Think about the good. Think about the wins, right? So I first create it in my mind first. And I hold that vision thoroughly and constantly throughout the day at all times. Any spare time that I have, I think back to that vision. I want to start a telecom company. I want to start a real estate company. And In 5 years, I want to do 2 million in telecom and 2 million in real estate. I want to be a professional bodybuilder in 1 year. Set dates, set things. By January 1st, 2026, I want to make $2 million in my telecom company, and I want to make $2 million profit in my real estate company. I want to have a company with the best company culture. I want to have all successes. I want to challenge people. I want to grow people. I want to lead a huge team, right, of people and happy places and happy people and happy culture and positive culture, right? And I want to challenge people and love people to look within themselves enough to change themselves for the better, right? So these really are my visions and my dreams and my goals. By January 1st, 2031, I want to make $2 billion in telecom and $2 billion in real estate. I want to be the natural Olympia for classic physique by January 1st, 2025. And I want to win all the way until January 1st, 2031. Hold that for, or 2026 to 2031. And this next year, I want to win first place in MPC. And I want to win in my bodybuilding career. I want to win first place in the MPC, and I want to win first place in the OCB and become pro at both and win a professional competition too. So that's this year, which is 2024. And that's my 5-year and my 10-year goal. And so I have that in my head, in my heart, and I think about that, and I progress that, and I nurture that, and I visualize that, and I impress it onto the world, onto the atmosphere, right? Despite what's going on here. And that's the thing I think that a lot of times I'm holding that vision, I'm keeping that here. I'm holding it in my heart, right? Even if we have a flip that goes longer, or, construction crew that doesn't hold up and we have to remove them and get another, like the day-to-day things, to have the 5-year and the 10-year goal in the future, like they don't have anything to do with the challenges and the struggles and the problems today. I just have to put those aside and say, okay, I'm doing the best I can. Here's the next decision for that. Let me do that. Problem solved. I learned a lot from it, whatever. Hey, girly. And I still hold that vision of the future and the goals there. So that's the key in the first step, right? Hi, sweetie. Is the vision, is the belief, is the start to think up here differently and change the thought process that I have. The one thing I talk about in the past, and why it seemed like it was such a big challenge to me, is that I could never be something that I was. I could never be something different than who I was to my core, right? And I'm doing a video. Yeah. And the problem with that is it didn't have anything to do with what I was capable of doing. It didn't have anything to do with how I could challenge myself to be better and grow. It just had to do with my standards and my belief of myself were not more capable of failures, struggles, being broke, addictions, drinking, drugging, those kind of things. I didn't ever see anything past that version of myself. So I was never going to go out and make big changes and dream big, because all I ever knew for a long period of time was pain and hurt and misery. And somehow I was comfortable in it, believe it or not. So the first and hardest step to becoming something different than we are is looking at the truth of who we really are, taking an inventory of our actions and activities and saying, man, I want to be here, and all I ever do is complain and think about being broke and think about losing my house and all these things. But yet I have dreams of starting a company and motivating people and speaking in front of an audience and a crowd. But when all of my thoughts are negative and poor and struggle oriented, how would I ever be able to go and do this, right? So my actions versus my identity are totally different, and they're not on the path, right? One thing about investing is you look at constantly the what you put into what you get out, the return on that investment, right? And the one thing about actions and activities is, and life is, I never really made that connection to our behaviors and our actions and becoming where we want to be and who we want to be. Is it's all about investments. The most positive investments we can make to ourselves, right, are things like education and learning and action and activity. Action is, after you think about it, after we think about it, action, it has to be the most and next most important thing, and just take massive, 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 massive action, right? Thinking things and visualizing a path and then actually taking incredible and massive action are probably the two biggest things that separate people from becoming who they want to be or being exactly the same, right? It's a mixture of the vision, holding the vision within, and action, and holding that vision with the faith and the purpose into our actions, right? So I believe it, I think about it, I'm going to make this much money on this date, and this is how the company is going to look, and we're going to be highly successful, and we're going to, acquire companies up and down the East Coast, and then, within 5 years and 10 years, we're going to make a national presence, all of that, right? All of those thoughts and all of those dreams. Now, when I'm working, when I'm doing things and I'm meeting people and I'm talking to people, I'm putting that out there. Hey, I wanted to do this. I'm thinking about acquired companies. If you know of any companies that are selling, right? I'm putting that action and activity with the faith of that dream and that vision behind it to push me through my actions and activities. So when I do this podcast right here, I'm thinking of the goal at the end. I want to have 1 million followers and carry a huge and strong message about change and belief and becoming someone who they didn't think they were ever capable of, right? So this, my dream of being and helping and loving and changing the world on a small scale, that's where my passion comes into where I'm speaking. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to carry just a weak message. It's going to be not very strong. It's not going to have much enthusiasm, much purpose. So that's how I used to probably carry a message. But as I get better and better, I'm carrying more of that vision, of the goal, of the future into each activity and action that I do. So when we break it all down and when we really look at it, this is the meat and the potatoes of it all. And it really is that it has nothing to do with who we were, with who we thought we were, with what our thoughts were, with what our actions were, with what we look like, with how we feel, with what our genetics are, whatever the case may be. It doesn't have anything to do with any of those things, and it only has to do with the process of becoming successful, the process of becoming. And that process has multiple pieces and parts to it, and if anybody just follows that process, right? And we know these processes because success leaves clues everywhere. It leaves clues, and if you listen to somebody successful, if you listen to somebody who's doing it, they're going to show you and they're going to tell you little things here and there, right? And if you just, instead of watching them and listening to them like they're on this pedestal and you're like, wow, that was a great speech, right? Ed Milet, I'm a big fan of him. And at first I was like in awe and shock, like, wow, this is crazy. This guy's got so much going on. I could never be that, right? I'm only going to be able to be a fan of that, right? And then I started listening to the things he was talking about, breaking it all down and actually incorporating it into my life. And then I got the results of the things that he was talking about, of the successful processes that he did that made him that way too. So big fan of that. Also Brandon Bouchard, a big fan of him as well. I got his book right here also, and all about habits and all about success. Atomic Habits, another one too. So we are creatures of habits, very much. Our habits control and change. Our habits don't change unless we change it, but our habits control how we do things and how we think about things, and they're on a very a very basic level of our minds, and we still don't realize how much of the things that we do even today are habit based, right? The phones and a lot of these things hijack a lot of our senses into dopamine shots and things that we wouldn't have normally been able to get so easily. And now we do get them very quickly. And a lot of times we just keep picking these things up and doing these things without even really thinking. But that's another view of how habits can affect us in a negative light too. But today, being as there's so much to talk about, there's so much to think about in the idea of becoming, in the idea of changing. I am very much new to it, and I'm growing with you as you grow at the same time. That's why it's not called like I won or I already got it. It's called Becoming. And I think the first few episodes, the first few thoughts that we have to have into Becoming have to negate the fact that anybody anywhere listening, just like myself, who's been through anything challenging or anything to make them believe that they weren't capable of doing anything that anybody else in this world can do, has to first be negated and first be told that that's not true. That anybody here listening, anybody here at all, is capable of doing anything that any other human being has ever done on any large scale, with any greatness, without any education, without any genetic ability to do that, without any natural ability, without looking like that person, without thinking like that person, without even talking like that person, maybe talking a different language, right? Anybody anywhere on the face of the earth right now that can hear this message and can first say, you know what, I am capable, can first believe it, and then can first start carrying the belief and the passion of that dream into their actions every day, and winning every day on a very small scale, and then winning a bunch of days put together on a very large scale, would be, as a very simple equation, if I win the moment, if I win the day, if more of my days are wins, then I would theoretically be winning on a bigger percentage than I would losing. So if I can be successful and if I can do things in a certain way in this moment and put all of my passion into this work in this moment now, and if I could do it for more moments throughout the day than I did not do it, and then I could do it for more days out of the week, then I would theoretically and technically, if you just put it down to a very simple equation of mathematics, be winning and be successful more than I would not be successful. So if my actions and activities are more efficient and successful, and I do things in a certain way of winning and succeeding, then I would more often than not be successful, and more of my time and energy would spend into being successful, being efficient, and winning. So therefore, I would be efficient, I would be productive, and I would be a winner. So we first dream it, we first think about it, we first realize that any reason that we cannot become is a lie, and we hold that vision into our minds and into our hearts. We say it every day, we think about it every day, and then in our actions and activities, we make them efficient, productive, and good actions and activities of wins by holding our vision and our passion into those things, and by doing more things on an efficient, productive, and successful level. And if we do those things, then we will win more than we lose, and most of our time will be spent to important and efficient and productive tasks. And we will then have a vision that is very strong, and we will have a process of creating strong and passionful activities. And as long as we just keep taking action and doing things in a certain way that is productive, that is efficient, we will be productive, efficient, and by being productive and efficient, we will win more than we lose, and we will succeed more than we fail, and our life will be a successful and productive and efficient win as a result. So just to break it down at a very simple level, win, guys, win in your minds first, right? And then win in your actions and activities, and win more times than you lose by staying productive, efficient, and winning. And that's all I got, guys. If it's on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave me a review. I would really appreciate reaching out to more people. This is one thing that I do just through passion and love. And passion and love does not bring as many people and as many followers as some of the marketing tactics and techniques. So please help me organically grow my channel and my podcast. And this has been Becoming episode 3. I will do it once a month. So in the month of March, I will drop another episode at the first week of March. And it will be Becoming episode 4. And now that we've talked about why it is not true that we cannot succeed, so why the first 2 episodes have to negate the fact that we are not capable, and then every episode from now is all about how we can do it, how we can change our lives, how we can grow and become that version of ourselves. And I am very much in the thick of it, y'all. 2 businesses in, real estate investor and bodybuilder and businessman, telecommunications company. We're looking at a few different things in our telecommunications side, but I am very much just in my first few years of business. And I'm trying and working and struggling through growing into new versions of myself along with new versions of the company at the same time. And we've got bigger, we've got smaller, we've had problems, we've had successes. There has been a mix of all of it. But I do believe the most fundamental part is still visualizing success, still building great company culture, and just like I mentioned to you, in our businesses, doing more activities and actions that are productive and efficient actions and activities. And if we can do that by creating a great environment for our employees to succeed and be productive more and be efficient more than they are inefficient and unproductive, then we as a company will win also. Also has to do with a lot with marketing, getting our name out there, sales, and those types of things too. So we are very technologically oriented in our marketing and in our business too. So I'm growing here right with you. So I'm challenging you, maybe from one step above you potentially, to go start that company, to go learn that thing, to go create that channel, create that thing that you want to put out into the world, and go do it. And first visualize it, and then have massive action and efficient action at that, and you will succeed. And I'm looking at those above me who are where I want to be, taking their thoughts, their suggestions, and their advice and implementing those. So we're now in the successful part, in the real work part, and I'm going to work hard on thinking and creating something positive for every month, and episode 4 will be next. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks for being here. Win the day, win each action, win each activity, stack up more efficient and wins than you do inefficient and losses, and you'll be successful as a result. So thanks, guys. Ryan McGough, the bodybuilding businessman and entrepreneur, and this is Becoming episode 3. Thank you so much for being here and listening in.